Two teenage girls, Rebecca and Katie, were hanging out together. Becca casually told Katie that she had heard a strange rumor about a cursed videotape. According to what she heard, anyone who watched that tape would die exactly 7 days later in a very strange way. Katie became nervous after hearing this and told Becca that 7 days ago, she, her boyfriend, and two of their friends had gone to Shelter Mountain for a short trip, and there they had watched that same tape. Becca didn't take Katie's fears seriously at first and treated it like a joke. But soon, unusual things started happening inside Katie's house. Her TV kept switching on by itself. Even when Katie turned it off, it came back on again on its own. Terrified, Katie ran to tell Becca what was happening. When she reached Becca, she noticed water coming from one of the rooms. The moment Katie entered that room, she screamed loudly after seeing the TV inside it, and that same moment she died. A child named Aidan comes into the story next. Aidan's mother, Rachel, arrived at his school to pick him up. Aidan's teacher told Rachel that Aidan had been making disturbing drawings. In the drawings, his cousin Katie was shown dying as if she were drowning in water. Rachel explained that Katie and Aidan were close, and since Katie died only 3 days ago, Aidan was still in shock. But the teacher corrected her and said that Aidan had been drawing those pictures for the last 7 days, long before Katie actually died. This confused Rachel. At home, she asked Aidan about the drawings, and Aidan told her that Katie had told him herself that she was going to die soon. The next day, Rachel and Aidan went to Katie's funeral. There, Katie's mother told Rachel that she wanted her to investigate the unusual circumstances of Katie's death. Rachel was a reporter, and Katie's death was strange. Katie's body was found in a very distorted condition. The doctor said her heart had ruptured, which was extremely rare for a 16-year-old girl. That night, Rachel spoke with some of Katie's friends. They told Rachel that Katie had gone with her boyfriend and 2 friends to Shelter Mountain Inn. They also watched a cursed tape there. And all 4 of them died exactly 7 days later on the same night. Rachel also learned that Becca, the friend who was with Katie on the night she died, had been admitted to a mental asylum because of the trauma. Rachel continued her investigation and discovered that all 4 teenagers, Katie and her 3 friends, died on the same day at exactly 10 p.m. While checking Katie's things, Rachel found photos from the Shelter Mountain trip. In one of the photos, the faces of all 4 teens were strangely blurred, which made Rachel even more suspicious. Rachel decided to go to Shelter Mountain Inn herself. There, she found the cursed videotape. Even though she was unsure, she played it and watched it. The tape showed disturbing and disconnected images: an arm, a ladder, the sea, and other strange visuals. As soon as the tape ended, the telephone rang. Rachel picked it up, and a girl's voice whispered, 7 days, before hanging up. The next day, Rachel returned home and told her boyfriend Noah everything. Noah didn't believe her at all and insisted on watching the tape himself. Rachel tried to stop him, but he still played the tape. As soon as it finished, the telephone rang again, but this time they didn't answer it. Rachel made a copy of the tape. She kept one for herself and gave the other to Noah so he could check its origin. Noah examined the tape in his studio but found that no recording source matched it. It seemed as if the tape came from nowhere. Meanwhile, Rachel watched the tape again carefully, examining every scene. She noticed a lighthouse in one of the images. When she searched about that lighthouse, she discovered it was located on Moscow Island. While searching for information about the island, she found a picture of a woman who looked exactly like the woman shown briefly in the tape. The woman's name was Samara Morgan. She lived on Moscow Island with her husband, and they raised horses there. Rachel learned that many years ago, Anna had become mentally ill because the horses on their ranch had started behaving strangely. One by one, the horses went mad and jumped into the sea to kill themselves. Under pressure, Anna eventually committed suicide by jumping into the sea. That same night, Rachel had a frightening dream. She woke up suddenly and saw marks on her hands, marks that looked like someone else's handprints. At that moment, she also realized that Aidan was awake and had watched the cursed tape too. That meant Aidan now had only 7 days left as well. Strange things began happening to Noah too, making him finally believe that Rachel had been telling the truth. Aidan was actually the son of Rachel and Noah, though they had never married because of their careers. Now they were united in fear for their child. The next day, Rachel traveled to Moscow Island to investigate Samara Morgan's past. Anna's husband was still alive and living on the island. At the same time, Noah searched through old files and discovered that Anna had been admitted to a psychiatric hospital before her death. He also found out that Anna had suffered many miscarriages and could never have a biological child. While going through the hospital records, Noah noticed a session that had been recorded on a tape labeled AS015. Rachel returned to Mr. Morgan's house. While searching the place, she found the same AS015 tape that Noah had been looking for in the psychiatric hospital. This meant Mr. Morgan had stolen it. Rachel played the tape and saw a recorded psychiatric session of Samara. In that session, Samara revealed that she never slept, not even with her eyes closed. She had supernatural abilities that allowed her to show terrifying visions to anyone, humans or animals, and those visions eventually drove them insane. Samara also said that her mother loved her very much, but her father didn't love her at all. He only cared about the horses. And at the end of the session, Samara calmly said she would never stop hurting others. Rachel was still watching the tape when Mr. Morgan suddenly walked in. He removed the TV from the room, as if destroying the evidence, and then went to the bathroom. Rachel followed, shocked, as he climbed into the bathtub and electrocuted himself. Before dying, Mr. Morgan said that Samara would never stop. Now that they had the tape, Rachel and Noah decided to return to the Morgan stable. There they discovered that Mr. Morgan had kept Samara in an open room above the stable with the horses. This made Rachel and Noah understand why Samara had driven the horses mad and caused their deaths. Noah then showed Rachel a drawing carved into the wallpaper of Samara's room, a large tree. Rachel had seen this same tree before at Shelter Mountain Inn. Realizing the connection, Rachel and Noah immediately went back to that cottage. By now, almost 7 days had passed since Rachel watched the tape, and her time was running out. Noah, stressed and desperate, started searching the cottage, throwing things around in frustration. Suddenly, several marbles on the floor began rolling on their own and gathered at one spot. Noah noticed this odd movement. He picked up an axe and broke the floor at that exact spot. Underneath, they discovered a hidden well. Rachel and Noah approached the well and shined a torch inside. At that moment, the TV inside the cottage lifted itself and fell on Rachel, knocking her into the well. Noah ran to find a rope, but the lid of the well shut on its own, trapping Rachel inside. In the water, Rachel saw long scratch marks on the inner walls of the well. It looked like someone had tried desperately to climb out, breaking their fingernails in the struggle. Then a hand suddenly grabbed Rachel from beneath the water. When it touched her, she was pulled into a vision. In this vision, she saw little Samara standing by the well when the area was empty. No cottage built above it yet. Anna appeared behind Samara, placed a plastic bag over her head to make her unconscious, and pushed her into the well before closing the lid. Even after falling in, Samara survived for 7 long days before finally dying. When Rachel came out of the vision, she found Samara's dead body underwater. The hand marks that had appeared on Rachel earlier were now gone. Even though the 7 days were over, Rachel didn't die, which meant she had escaped the curse. Noah returned and managed to lift the well lid. He pulled Rachel out along with Samara's skeleton. Rachel decided to give Samara a proper burial, hoping her spirit would finally find peace. She told Noah that Samara only wanted someone to discover her story and understand what had happened to her. Rachel and Noah went back home feeling relieved, but the next morning Rachel saw Samara's handprints on Aidan's hands, and his nose had started bleeding. Rachel understood instantly that the curse hadn't ended. She called Noah right away, realizing that today marked 7 days since he had watched the tape. Meanwhile, Noah was in his studio when his TV suddenly turned on. Samara climbed out of the well in the tape and then crawled out of the TV into the room. She killed Noah. When Rachel arrived at his studio, she found Noah's distorted, lifeless body and broke down in tears. She wondered why Samara hadn't killed her when her 7 days were over. Her eyes then fell on the copy of the cursed tape, the one she had made and given to Noah. In that moment, she understood the truth. Rachel had survived because she passed the curse to someone else. Samara's curse worked only if the person who watched the tape made a copy and showed it to another person. Samara wanted her story to keep spreading. If someone watched the tape but didn't pass it on, Samara killed them. But if they made a copy and showed it to someone new, then the curse moved to that new person. Realizing this, Rachel did the only thing she could to save herself and Aidan. She made another copy of the tape, and with Aidan's help, prepared to pass the curse forward to someone else. The Ring 2, 2005. 6 months after surviving her first encounter with Samara Morgan, Rachel Keller made a desperate choice to protect her son, Aidan. She created another copy of the cursed videotape and, in a moment of painful survival instinct, let Aidan watch it so that he could pass the curse onward. Samara's rule was cruel but fixed. Whoever watched the tape could only live past the 7-day deadline if they made a copy and showed it to someone else. This was the only way Rachel knew to keep her son alive. The story now begins with the consequences of that choice. The curse is active again, moving forward to its next victim. A teenage boy, Jake, and his girlfriend, Emily, are at the center of the new terror. Jake is terrified. His 7 days are nearly over. Only minutes remain. Completely panicked, he forces Emily to watch a copy of the cursed tape so he can pass the curse on to her. The tape plays, its disturbing images flashing across the screen. Emily, overwhelmed with fear, screams and covers her eyes. She never sees the final image. The well. Because she doesn't watch the tape completely, the curse doesn't transfer to her. It stays with Jake. His time runs out. The room grows dark. Cold air sweeps in. Samara Morgan crawls out of the static on the TV. She comes towards Jake and kills him. After Jake's death, Rachel and Aidan try to rebuild their lives. They leave their old home and move to Astoria, Oregon, hoping distance will keep Samara away. Rachel finds a job at a local newspaper, and for a short while, it seems like life is settling down. But the peace doesn't last. Rachel is assigned a news report about a 17-year-old boy who died under strange conditions. The moment she sees the details, Jake's body found with his face horribly distorted, his house filled with water, and his girlfriend hiding in fear, she knows the truth. The curse has followed them. Rachel rushes to the scene. When she sees Jake's body being taken away, her fear is confirmed. Samara is active again. Determined to stop the curse from spreading further, Rachel goes to the police station and questions the traumatized Emily. Emily tells her that the tape is still at Jake's house. Rachel races back, finds the tape, and drives deep into the forest. She throws it into a fire pit, watching it melt and burn. As the tape dissolves, she hears faint screaming and crying coming from inside the flames, Samara's angry spirit losing her vessel. Rachel hopes this act will finally end the nightmare. But almost instantly, Samara turns her attention toward Aidan. That night, Aidan has a terrifying dream. In it, he is alone in the house when the TV switches on by itself. The cursed video plays, and Samara climbs out of the well, reaching toward him. He wakes up shivering and terrified, but he hides it from Rachel so she won't worry. Over the next few days, Aidan becomes increasingly silent and detached. Wanting to lift his spirits, Rachel takes him to a local fair, but the outing goes horribly wrong. Aidan isolates himself in a restroom, hearing faint whispers around him. He takes rapid, panicked photographs of himself in the mirror as if trying to capture something following him. Rachel finds him and takes him away, troubled by his strange behavior. While driving home from the fair, the danger becomes physical. A deer appears in the road, and Rachel brakes suddenly. More deer step out of the woods, their glowing eyes fixed on the car. They begin smashing into it violently, coordinated like they are under Samara's control. Rachel escapes by speeding away, barely surviving the attack. Once back home, Aidan's condition worsens dramatically. His body turns freezing cold, the unmistakable sign of Samara's presence. Rachel calls a nurse for help, but before she can follow the nurse's instructions, she enters Aidan's room and freezes in terror. Samara is standing by the wall. Rachel looks back at Aidan and realizes he is gone. When she looks again, Aidan is standing exactly where Samara had just been. Rachel understands instantly. Samara has possessed Aidan. Panicked, she takes him to the house of her friend and co-worker Max Rourke. The voice that comes from Aidan is no longer his. Calm, cold, and inhuman, he says, "I'm very cold." Now Samara is back in our world from her dark world. She can always hear us, so we should sleep. While we are sleeping, she can't see us. Rachel is terrified and confused. She takes him to the bathroom to warm him up, hoping to raise his dangerously low body temperature. But Aidan violently resists the bathtub. He is terrified of the water, reacting with a strength far beyond his small body. Rachel leaves Aidan with Max and returns to her house to collect a few essential items. There, she finds Aidan's camera. When she looks through the photographs he took at the fair, she is horrified to see Samara's ghostly form in every picture. Standing directly behind Aidan, panicked, Rachel rushes back to Max's house. She arrives to find the bathroom door locked from the inside, with Aidan alone in the room. After a frantic struggle, Rachel and Max finally manage to force the door open. What they see is a scene of impossible, supernatural chaos. The bathroom is flooded, yet the water is floating in the air, rising in shimmering sheets and suspended spheres that defy gravity. At the center of this swirling mass, Samara sits in the bathtub, holding Aidan's rigid, possessed body. as Rachel instinctively runs toward them. All the floating water collapses at once, crashing down on her in a violent, icy torrent. Having witnessed the impossible and terrified for Aidan's safety, Max admits the boy to the hospital the next day. Even though he hopes the controlled environment will help, he knows this situation is beyond medical understanding. At the hospital, shaken by what he has seen, Max demands to know the truth. Rachel finally reveals everything: the cursed tape, the well, and the vengeful spirit of Samara. Later, sitting in Aidan's hospital room, Rachel holds his hand and breaks down crying, overwhelmed by fear and grief. While crying, she receives fragmented, disturbing visions from Samara's past, brief images that reveal pieces of the girl's traumatic life. These glimpses push Rachel to search deeper into Samara's origins. She immediately leaves the hospital and drives back to Moscow Island. At the abandoned Morgan house, she goes into the basement and discovers crucial information, details about Samara's adoption and a hidden diary belonging to Anna Morgan. Following the diary's clues, Rachel tracks down an orphanage on the mainland. There, the headmistress finally tells her the truth about Samara's biological mother, Evelyn Borden. The headmistress explains that Evelyn came to the orphanage 7 months pregnant and gave birth to Samara there. She recalls a disturbing detail: every newborn cries, except Samara did not until Evelyn tried to bathe her. Only then did Samara cry uncontrollably. Evelyn became convinced her child was not human but a water-based demon growing inside her. She attempted several times to drown Samara, terrified of what the infant was. Because of this, Evelyn was separated from her daughter and placed in a mental asylum. Samara stayed behind and was later adopted by the Morgans. With this devastating history finally clear, Rachel travels to the asylum and is allowed to meet Evelyn. Though catatonic and rocking when Rachel enters, Evelyn speaks clearly the moment she sees her. "I know you've come for your son, but you made a big mistake," she warns. "You freed her." With piercing clarity, she adds, "The dead never sleep. If you want to save your son, you have to put her to sleep." Before Rachel can ask anything else, an employee interrupts, ending the visit. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, the possessed Aidan wakes up and demands to see his mother. When a doctor tries to restrain him, Aidan, controlled by Samara, uses a powerful, unseen force to kill the doctor instantly. He then escapes the hospital and heads straight to Max's house. When Rachel returns to Max's home after meeting Evelyn, she finds Max's car outside. Inside it lies Max's disfigured corpse, another victim of Samara's wrath. Rachel cries over her friend's body but forces herself to continue. Inside the house, she finds the possessed Aidan watching television alone. When she asks about Max, he responds with Samara's cold voice, pretending Max never came home. Rachel immediately understands the truth. Samara killed Max through Aidan. Overwhelmed, Rachel retreats to her room and cries until she falls into an exhausted sleep. In her dream, Aidan speaks to her, confirming what she has learned. Samara fears water, and drowning Aidan is the only way to drive the spirit out of his body. When Rachel wakes, she sees Aidan still awake, silently watching TV late at night. A chilling reminder of Evelyn's words, "The dead never sleep." Rachel decides to follow the plan. She prepares sandwiches for herself and Aidan, slipping sleeping pills into his food. Aidan eats and quickly drifts into unconsciousness. Rachel carries him to the bathroom and lays him in a bathtub filled with water. As soon as she submerges him, the spirit fights back. Aidan snaps awake, speaking sweetly and pleading with her. Samara's manipulative attempt to stop her, but Rachel, strengthened by Evelyn's warning and her love for her son, refuses to listen. She forces him fully underwater. The water immediately turns pitch black. Samara is violently expelled from Aidan's body, and Aidan returns to normal. Rachel feels overwhelming relief, believing the nightmare is over, but the peace lasts only moments. The TV switches on again by itself, showing the image of the well. Samara emerges, crawling out of the screen toward the newly freed Aidan. Rachel jumps in front of her son, offering herself instead. Samara grabs her and drags her through the TV, pulling her into the dark world of the well. Inside Samara's realm, Rachel struggles as she is dragged downward. Then she suddenly understands Evelyn's warning. Rachel herself had removed the well's heavy stone lid back at the Morgan's cabin, leaving it ajar. That small act allowed Samara to cross into the real world, even after the tapes were destroyed. With this realization, Rachel claws her way up the slippery walls of the well. Samara climbs after her, trying to pull her back down. With a final burst of strength, Rachel reaches the top and pushes the heavy stone lid shut, sealing Samara inside again. Samara's enraged scream echoes from below. Following Aidan's voice, Rachel finds herself beside a large river. She runs and leaps into the water, emerging safely back in the real world. She returns to her son, finally breaking the cycle of terror. Rings 2017. Carter, a young man on a flight, was shaking with fear. His panic was so obvious that the passenger beside him finally asked why he looked so terrified. Carter explained in a trembling voice that 7 days earlier he had watched a strange videotape. Right after it ended, he received a phone call where a girl's voice softly said, 7 days. That moment, he knew he was marked to die exactly a week later. And now his final day had come. The flight attendant he spoke to, the one meant to receive the curse next, didn't believe a word he was saying. But Carter had already tried everything. He had attempted to pass the tape along, but the flight attendant had failed to watch the video completely. Because of that, the curse stayed tied to him. Suddenly, chaos took over the aircraft. The pilot lost control of the plane. Water started overflowing from the bathroom and slowly filling the aisles. Then, Samara appeared on the plane's cockpit screens and inside the cabin itself. A final, horrifying sign. Moments later, the doomed plane crashed. 2 years after the crash, a college professor named Gabriel Brown was browsing an antique shop when he found a 12-year-old VCR. Professor Gabriel specialized in researching supernatural phenomena, and he had discovered that this particular VCR carried the same cursed videotape connected to the plane disaster. The tape was still inside. Curious and determined, he bought it for a controlled experiment. Back at home, Gabriel cleaned and repaired the machine. When it was working again, he inserted the tape and watched it all the way through. The moment it finished, the phone rang. A girl's voice whispered the same chilling phrase, 7 days. And then the line went dead. Meanwhile, far away, Holt and Julia were deeply in love. Holt had left for college, while Julia stayed in their hometown. They promised to stay close by talking every night on Skype. For the first few days, everything felt normal. But then, Holt suddenly stopped answering her calls. A whole week passed, and his silence grew more worrying. One night, Julia had a strange dream and woke up disturbed. At that moment, Holt's Skype account started calling her. She quickly answered, but instead of Holt, a terrified girl appeared on the screen. Her name was Sky Johnston. Panicked and shaking, Sky demanded, "Where is Holt? Why won't he answer me?" Julia was confused and angry, asking what Sky was doing on Holt's computer. But Sky only grew more frantic. "Tell Holt he can't hide. She's coming." And then Sky cut the call. Her time had run out. Julia, now terrified, tried calling Holt again and again, but he still didn't respond. Deeply worried, she immediately left for Holt's college. When she arrived, she asked a professor where Holt was, but he acted strangely and avoided her questions. Julia soon realized this was Professor Gabriel, the same man who had watched the cursed tape. Her suspicion rose, and she secretly followed him to the 7th floor of the science building. There she discovered a hidden laboratory filled with whiteboards mapping out the curse chain and walls covered with bloody photos of people who had died from it. The group working there called themselves the Sevens. In that secret room, Julia saw Sky, the girl from the video call, who looked horrifyingly close to death. Sky told Professor Gabriel she had only minutes left and had failed to find someone to take her place. Desperate for answers, Julia eventually found Sky alone. Sky, now with only 30 minutes before her death, became desperate. She tried to convince Julia to watch the tape to save herself. She took Julia to her home and began copying the tape. Just then, Sky received a message from Holt. When Holt heard Julia was there, he immediately sent warnings telling her not to watch the tape. Julia listened and locked herself inside the bathroom. While she hid, Samara appeared and killed Sky. Holt rushed to the house soon after and broke the door open, saving Julia. Holt finally told her everything. He had been hiding because he had 1 day left before his 7 days ended, and he hadn't made a copy to pass the curse on. Julia, overwhelmed with fear for him, quietly got up later that night while Holt slept. She found the VCR and bravely watched the tape herself. When it ended, she got the same haunting call. 7 days. Right after the call, Julia had a vivid vision. She saw herself opening a bedroom door. The moment the door swung open, her hand burned with intense pain, leaving a strange dotted mark, a cryptic symbol on her skin. Panicked, Holt took her to Professor Gabriel, who said Julia should make a copy and show the tape to someone else. But Julia refused. She didn't want to drag anyone innocent into this nightmare. Seeing her determination, Gabriel agreed to help her try to find another solution. Julia attempted to make a copy of the tape, But something shocking happened. The video had grown longer. New scenes had somehow added themselves. Julia watched the extended version and saw new images: a church, a graveyard filled with water, and a mysterious woman's face. Studying these clues, she discovered the locations were from the old town of Sakafari, where Samara had originally been buried. Gabriel scanned the symbol burned into Julia's hand for his research, while Julia and Holt left for Sakafari with the VCR and all their notes. On the way, Julia began seeing flashes and strange visual distortions, signs that her time was running out. Their research suggested everything had started years ago when Rachel Keller removed Samara's body from the well. When Julia and Holt reached Sakafari, they checked into a rest stop. Inside, they saw a photo of Evelyn Borden, Samara's biological mother. When they asked the owner about her, he avoided the question. They visited the places shown in the new footage: the church and the graveyard. At Samara's grave, they opened the coffin and found it empty. A local man then took them to meet Galen Burke, a blind man living nearby. Galen, the gravedigger, told Julia and Holt that years ago, after the police recovered Samara's body, a strange blight had struck the town. The land was flooded and the town suffered badly. Galen admitted that he had secretly removed Samara's remains from the common cemetery to protect the town, but he lied to them, saying the body had simply been reburied in a remote, inaccessible place outside the city. Later, Julia left the rest stop and stumbled upon Professor Gabriel's crashed car. He was dead, likely claimed by the curse after failing to find a new tail to save himself. Holt quickly took Julia back to the rest stop. Determined to uncover the truth, Julia returned to the church. In the basement, she discovered a hidden room. Inside, she found evidence that Evelyn Borden, Samara's mother, had been held captive there during her pregnancy. The person responsible was the town priest, Father Walter, who, shockingly, was Galen Burke's brother. It also became clear that Galen was Samara's biological father. They had imprisoned Evelyn to hide the shame of the pregnancy. Meanwhile, Holt spoke to the rest stop owner and learned that Evelyn had disappeared years ago and had connections to the priest. Julia then went to Galen Burke's house to demand answers. There, Galen finally revealed the full truth, but with violent intent. He tried to attack Julia to stop her from exposing Samara's hidden grave. Galen confessed that he had blinded himself so he would never see Samara's face. He revealed that Samara's body had been sealed inside the walls of his house. Using his blindness against him, Julia managed to escape into a hidden room, where she discovered Samara's full skeletal remains completely sealed behind the wall. Before she could remove the remains, Galen caught her. Just as he was about to kill Julia, her phone suddenly played the cursed video. From the screen, Samara emerged. She used her supernatural power to restore Galen's eyesight. As he looked upon his daughter's remains, Samara appeared fully and killed him, forcing him to witness his child's corpse one last time. Holt arrived immediately. Together, he and Julia carefully retrieved Samara's skeletal remains. They carried them outside and laid them on the ground, hoping that by finally freeing her body, Samara's spirit would be released. They returned to their room, exhausted but relieved. Later, Julia went to take a bath. Holt, meanwhile, found a final voice message from Professor Gabriel on his phone. The professor explained that the mark burned onto Julia's hand was a symbol of rebirth or reincarnation. Holt quickly searched online and confirmed that the symbol meant the spirit would live again. As he searched, something terrifying happened. The cursed video automatically forwarded itself from Julia's phone to all her contacts. In the bathroom, Julia looked into the mirror. She did not see Samara directly, but her own reflection transformed into Samara Morgan's ghostly image. The spirit had found a new body, a new host, and a new medium to carry on her curse. The final image lingered. Julia's reflection now bore Samara's menacing eyes, ready to spread the curse across the world once more. And to enter a great story like this one once more, you just need to click on my recaps on the right. Don't forget to subscribe along the way to get notified about my new uploads. Which part of The Ring did you enjoy the most? Let me know in the comments. As always, grab your popcorn, enjoy yourself, and see you soon.